Hey everybody, this is Perch. Um, I know I get hung up on certain things. I find myself thinking back on the channel every now and then, usually when there's big break in videos. I haven't filmed anything in a little bit, and I think to myself the things I say repeatedly, and I think to myself I feel bad for the listeners who are like hearing me talk about why villains are important for the 800th time. And I think I mean, I try and bring new points, to the discussion each time, but still, it's dull, right? It feels like it gets repetitive. Um, this is where, if only I was like a 20-year-old girl who could live stream and make cutesy faces, and then none of you would care about the content, and I'd be making millions of dollars every year. No, probably not that one, but the rest. Anyway, um, I get hung up on things, and so I'm trying to just lay it as bare as I can because I think several of you will say, why does this matter? Or why does this nuance matter? Are you really picking on this point? And I find myself in a weird place as we head into 2025, where if you go back like 5 years pre-COVID, I remember I started this channel 2019, and I was just kind of answering questions and more or less, doing the same shit I was doing. I wasn't reading email, but I would do some of that and try and talk from a retailer perspective, what's going on. Um, and what's funny about that is at the time, there's a handful of people out on YouTube and the internet who either ignored or hated me, right? By and large, most people ignored me. I was a tiny channel, didn't really matter. And a lot of what I was saying was really counter to the narrative of 2017, 2018, 2019. It was, hey, the publishers are really plotting against you because they wake up every morning and they think not like, how do we make a comic, but specifically, how do we piss off people on the internet, specifically Republicans, because I guess we're in the second half of the Trump time. And, that was the narrative that everybody's thinking about, you all the time. They're thinking about ways to just fuck with you. That's all that's going on. And I remember a bunch of like wild rumors that were happening. And this is kind of what got me tipped off to this channel because the rumors were things like, hey, you know, uh, the publishers, Marvel in particular, are shipping comics and then forcing the retailer to pay for them. I remember this storyline went around for about 2 months or so, and it was that basically Marvel was dumping these comics, and then they were overships. Somebody learned about overships, and they got in their head that this means that Marvel is actually shipping hundreds or thousands of copies to a store, and then like demanding money for those comics, which didn't ever happen. And like a lot of things, what is the element of truth in it? It's that Marvel does overship. Sometimes you order 20 copies and Marvel's like, I really think this title's one we want to invest in, so we're going to ship them 40 copies instead, not thousands. And this will, basically the store will give some of these away for free. And they don't say that part out loud, but they'll get some discounting in here and people get hooked on this title and then it will go. This was done with the very first Iceman series. I remember the original one, and that was the scenic race one, not the Orlando, the more current one. And it wasn't true. It wasn't true that thousands of copies were sold. It also wasn't true that Marvel was charging for them. Now you did pay some in shipping, but this is where kind of common sense kicks in. If you add like 20 copies of a comic to a box, you may charge an extra like 15-20 cents, and literally, this isn't speculation on my part. I know because I received these boxes and I received these overships. I know exactly what it would cost, and it didn't bother me. You could take these comics, put it this way, you weren't ever out. You could take the comics, walk right down to half price books, dump them there, and make enough money off that to buy a cup of coffee. Basically, he didn't make much, but you wouldn't be out money. But it bothered me. It bothered me immensely that this lie was going around. And I remember one of the guys at the time who I don't remember the exact words. I think he said, I have a boring voice or something along those lines as like the teacher that you just didn't really like, that you kind of hated. And I think the comment was, I think I hate Perch. And that was Zach. And it's funny because that was 2019. Now we fast forward to 2025 and people will fairly regularly send me mails going, one of two things like, hey, when are you guys going to do a live stream together? Because you seem to have gravitated almost to the same point a lot. And, 2, I get every now and then "What did you infect him with?" Like, he's "Why did you ruin Zach?" That's a heavy burden, for a guy to carry. No, I didn't carry Zach, but I see there's one commonality. The 2 of us are different people, and we like different things. Clearly, we have different movie tastes and other things. But there's one common thread, and I think it's, both of us have gravitated to a point where, facts matter. And having been in this industry and seen all the videos and the people complaining and everything else, I can't speak for him. And I haven't listened to anywhere close to all of his videos, but I hear things from time to time. And I think the common element is, look, there are problems in comics, like legitimate problems. I grew up with comics. I love comics. I want to see them continue. I want to see amazing stories. My hope is the absolute best comic story I will ever read hasn't been published yet. It's still somewhere out there in my future. I feel the same way about music and movies and everything. I mean, you have this hope that the future will be better. Anyway, that's where I'm at. And so I think there are a lot of problems in comics, which we've talked about for more than more than 1,000 videos at this point. And yet, when I see people make up shit, like lie about overships or lie about, Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired back in 2020, or I've got an insider that says that DC is going to stop publishing comics in a month, or whatever that kind of stuff is. It's such a dumb lie, and it frustrates me. It actually makes me very irritable inside, because there are problems in comics. The comics problems need to be fixed, and we need to focus on that. We need to get people's attention on that, and so arguing about overships incorrectly, I mean, making up shit about something that's just not true and getting a bunch of drama wound up in it, um, you look like a fool. And I guess I've tried a number of different kind of arguments here, and the best one I can come up with is this: if you don't like, Heidi McDonald or Rich Johnston or any of these kinds of people, Heather Ontos, then why are you then making up something that's clearly a lie? Um, Gives them cover. Basically, they don't have to worry about the things they're responsible for. They don't have to improve their situation. They don't have to fix anything. They can kind of sit back and go, look at these clowns. They don't even understand how the business works. Because in those moments, you don't. And so that's what bugs me, because at the end of the day, I'm on the side of, the retailers who have to ship this stuff, and I'm on the side of the fans and the customers, because I am one. And you talk to any retailer, you'll get massive frustration with the publishers. Like right now, you got Comics Pro coming up in a few weeks, and there is massive, massive frustration with the publishers. I'm even coughing like Zach at this point. I don't know, we have become the same person, except he's more interesting. He's got better stories. But it's like, everybody's pissed at the publishers. You got creators who are busy kind of patting themselves on the back on social media versus, focusing on putting out good books. We're seeing more and more comics read like a Netflix episode rather than anything that has to do with the characters. And you look at all this and go, uh, you know, why are we, we don't have time to make up nonsense stories about things that aren't true. There's plenty of actual problems. And that's the kind of stuff that bugs me. Now, I understand the actual problems are more spicy. It is, I get it. I totally, totally get it. If you want views and clicks and all that kind of attention, that's where you need to go. You need to make shit up. Talking about the realities of, like, hey, what the biggest problem at Marvel is? People don't come into the office and don't work. I mean, good Lord. If the rumors are true about what Elon and the Doge team are going to do, I mean, like, aim that at comics, please. But that's the core problem. But that's a very boring problem. It's not as exciting as, people at Marvel are secretly hiring in sex slaves to do their work because they're lonely, horny men who are repressed, but also somehow deviants. And they like, I mean, they're like, one is going to get you more hits. A movie coming out and immediately screaming, "It's so woke," is going to get you hits. Um, that's unfortunately that's the world we live in. But I thought I owe you an explanation. It's thousands of videos later. That's what matters to me. Is that what matters to you? Facts are not always pretty, and they tend to cut every way. Sometimes they're on your side, sometimes they're not. But if you start to detach from them, I don't know what you're left with, and you're definitely not solving the core problem, which is comics. As a fan and somebody who loves comics, I need comics to get better. Don't you? Thanks for listening.